Okay, so what, we're going to record it and then you're just going to put it up on your thing?
That's right.
Okay, great. So if I say anything controversial, it's in.
It's in. It's in.
Okay, great. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So knock yourself out.
So tell me a little bit about your framing, your podcast. What's your angle?
Okay, my angle is, how did we get here? So mostly we have a lot of people, we know their accomplishments, what they've done, but we don't know the person behind it and how you got there. So
okay,
I know about
and how long?
About your filmmaking, about you as a musician, as a music producer, but I don't know how, like, the wee little Duncan even got started on that. You see?
Okay. And
then
how long is your optimum time?
It's just a conversation, just an open, free, whatever stories come up. So in these times of COVID, when we're hanging out, you know, people can just like listen and join in and feel like a lot of feedback was like, wow, I felt like I was sitting there with you in the living room and it was interesting, you know?
Great.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm here and I love talking. Are
Where
we in
are you,
record
in
now?
London?
Yeah. Are we in record now?
Yeah.
Great.
Are you in
no, I'm in
London?
Bristol.
Bristol.
Yeah.
And you said
we hit the headlines for like 5 minutes. We were all over the world. We threw the slave traders statue into the harbour. Did you hear about that?
Mm-mm.
You didn't hear it. Everybody heard about it. No,
Tell me about it.
Well, Bristol, it was like, you know, when the BLM thing was going off,
right?
There's this statue of this slave trader that they've been trying to get rid of for years. And so a load of people just went down, ripped it off, threw it in the harbour. It was a bit of a moment. It's tricky. The police here, it's not like, it's funny here. I just been at a festival this weekend called Medicine Festival.
What festival?
Which was medicine.
What kind of medicine?
Well, the idea was it's coming from the indigenous world, the indigenous loving world, the world where we realize that maybe there's something that we've forgotten that they can remind us of, that world. But of course, because of COVID and the lockdown and everything, then we didn't have any guests. It was just us, our family, about a few hundred of us.
Big family.
Big family, and also official. We got granted official. We were allowed to do it, but we had to socially distance and to go on the dance floor. You had to wear a mask, and there were kind of COVID police walking around. Separate, and as you know, there's differing opinions on whether the mask makes any difference or whether what COVID is. But it was beautiful because, and all it's that kind of person that was at the festival, the questioners. But it was beautiful vibe of we're just accepting it, and we were so grateful to actually just be there.
Yeah.
It was because it was like it used to be, but if we'd gone to it pre-COVID, it would just have been another, I'm doing that weekend, I'm doing this, that.
This was the only,
Yeah. And this was amazing because we all really appreciated that we'd missed each other, how amazing the isolation had been for us all, this kind of self-analysis, this letting go of plans and goals, and
be in the moment.
It's an amazing time. It's an amazing time.
As
you well know, as everybody knows.
Was there medicine administered?
No.
Okay.
Only a little self-administered, maybe.
Okay.
But no, it was talks, music. We had Nick Mulvey heading it. Sam Lee was on the bill. And the music was just beautiful, beautifully created by the organizers. And I was stage manager. And I did a gig with my friend Antama, who I'm producing his album. We've just finished the album and just trying to work out how we turn the album into a live thing. So it was a really good opportunity for us as well.
What kind of artist is that?
He is a rapper who has studied like mantras and Vedanta, and he chants like 2 or 3 hours a day often. And he takes that energy into his rapping, and he sings songs, and he leads medicine ceremonies, and he's just done the work. He's young. He's still young. He's early 30s, but he's just got such a great energy, and he's so good with a crowd. So we've just finished the album. It's very eclectic sound, from track, from mantra tracks like Om Shakti to like trap tracks, like Stormzy. It goes through the complete thing. So it's really exciting. We'll see, because again, in this new world where we are, it's hard to know how to do anything. We used to know how to market an album. Nobody knows now.
Yeah. Well, I find like it's a two-sided sword in these times, because in the olden days it was much harder to get a record deal or anything, and now you can self-publish, and I can do a podcast. I don't have to have a TV show. So there's something good about that, that you can bring content out into the world.
Yeah, it's amazing what's happened. The only problem that comes is you need to earn money from it.
True.
So that'll work itself out, I'm sure, somehow. At the moment, as a musician, it's not looking great. I mean, if you're a builder, this is looking great right now, because everyone's building extensions on their houses, and, or if you're a psychotherapy with an online business or blah, blah, blah. There's certain people doing...
star.
Or a TikTok star, exactly. But if you're a working musician, you're at home thinking, what now? So, yeah, I mean, although, of all the things I've just said about how, for me, because I'm not rich, but I've got safety net in the bank. So to stop working hasn't been too difficult for me. Mm-hmm. But I know that I'm very lucky, and I fully appreciate how difficult it is. I mean, I'm surrounded by, a lot of my musician friends, a lot of people live hand to mouth. So, I know, anyway, let's not go down that.
The music business has changed a long time ago, where with all the streaming that, that bands had to go on tour in order to make money, so it's been like that for a long time. But now COVID and lockdown and not having like big, events has made it even harder.
Yeah, I've done a couple of the online gigs, quite interesting as well. I mean, I've done a couple. We did one called Canta Como Amor, right, quite early on in lockdown, with some friends who had a kind
of guys. I think I saw that. Yeah. I locked in. Yeah.
Cool. No, it was beautiful. And we had no idea. Like the first day, I was helping them with the sound, so I was sound checking all the different artists all over the world, from Brazil, America, Israel, Australia, here in the UK. It was so great. And then we came online at 7, and suddenly, boom, there were 2,000 people there. And then, boom, 5,000. It's like we didn't expect. And also it's kind of nice that stripped down. You kind of get a very personal connection with the artist that you wouldn't get when you're standing and looking at it on a stage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's been a bit. I'm quite excited about that concept of the new idea of shows, because this is going to be like this for some time. But it's not going to be tomorrow where the gigs are going to start again. So we have to get used to this new world, the new normal, or whatever everyone's calling it.
Who knows how long it will last? I mean, I've heard about drive-in shows they've been doing where you like the old theaters, but they do live shows. I don't know, because I feel music is also something, that unites. And when you're standing there, I mean, remember I saw you in Glastonbury when Radiohead was playing. I mean, that was just mind-blowing, the energy that gets created with the crowd. So I miss it. I miss that.
We were all very sad. It was the 50th Glastonbury this year.
Cancelled.
And we were in January. We were all scrabbling over tickets. And, have you got a ticket? Where can I get a ticket? I've got to get in. It was like it was going to be the event, the 50th Glastonbury, and then that's gone.
Gone, yeah.
Yeah. But as I say, I'm kind of all right, because the world as it wasn't great. No. And it's not that anymore. We haven't worked out what it is now, but it's not that anymore. And I just think that that's okay. It's a change happening, and we really need to wake up and change.
Well, let me tell you, what's happening here in the US is insane. I mean, with the politics, but I also find like a positive aspect of it is that you cannot run away. You cannot go out. And that's what we tend to do. We like to distract each other, like ourselves. And now people become more introspective, and the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and history, the untold history of America, you know, in that regard, is it's all bubbling up, and it's a good thing, you know. People,
well, and also the Me Too thing running along with it, you know, like I have a feeling there's another one around the corner that's going to be billionaires are going to have to kind of.
well, that's bubbling up already with the
No,
Epstein
they get,
thing, and you know,
because when the
snake
shit
talk.
really hits the fan, it's like you can't justify it. The billionaires, they can't justify it, and they need to share, and need to put the money back in, and stop being so bloody greedy, all of them.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that'll happen. But you know, it's interesting. It's because I'm an old hippie, really. I mean, I really think that what we're going through now started in the 60s, you know, when the hippies woke up.
The resurgence of the hippie,
Yeah, but it was just, they were saying, we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And here we are, we're moving into the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
And it's already changed. We're already in the age of Aquarius. The men are not in charge. The women are taking over. The whole organized religion is becoming
crumbling,
more troublesome, crumbling. Everything is crumbling.
And
we have to be patient.
Is there, you know, like people cannot hide anymore, which is also, in my mind, has to do with like our communication through the internet.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know about you, but I've been having, like, this conversation we're having now, like, neither of us are in a hurry. Yeah. Neither of us know what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
So we can talk about, normally you talk about the trivia of life.
Right.
What you're doing, what you've done, but right now there is no trivia. Exactly. The only trivia is, you know, I just made a cup of tea. You know. But the important thing is, since March, I've been, my work has been me.
Hang on, oops, I just lost you. You're back.
Okay, I'm here.
Sorry.
Yeah, my work now is me. That's how I'm seeing what's going on.
So you're still producing?
Yeah.
How did this guy find you, that rapper, or did you find each other?
His manager is an old friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Usual kind of thing, you know.
And of course, he would think about you because you're the expert of merging different styles, and
exactly.
That's your expertise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's you know, we started it, I think, last August, and we were just more or less finishing when we went into lockdown, and then we both realized, that there's no point in doing that right now. Let's just put that on hold. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. And then because I'm single at the moment, I'm in my flat on my own, a new flat in Bristol. I've only been here. I moved in 2 weeks before lockdown.
Wow. What made you move to Bristol? Is Bristol a cool place? I've never been there.
Very cool place.
It's like Banksy Town.
Yeah, Banksy Town. Yeah, exactly. And it's very alternative, very, it's nice. It's right on the doorstep of Wales, on the doorstep of Devon and Somerset. So it's kind of some of the best English countryside is really close. And there's just a great music scene here. I mean, obviously, since I moved here, it's just a bunch of houses. You don't really see anybody. It's lockdown. But and also the main reason I'm here is half price London.
Yeah, don't blame you.
So I've got a nice flat, and it's got, you know, and I can't afford London, so Bristol was my best option, and here I am.
Yeah.
And it's been full isolation and full introspection, and I hit when I was mixing the album, my Tama's album, when it came back on again, I hit this I'm not good enough wall. I couldn't get it finished. And normally there'd be enough energy, because I've had it before, but I've managed to push through because maybe the Tama would be in the room. But here on my own, I hit a really big wall. And then I just watched myself hit it and got back on my cushion, meditated some more, you know, watched myself. And then it just went away. And then one day I knew what to do, and the energy had changed.
Because you didn't push it, because you accepted it and sat with it, right? Exactly. And then it dissolves much better than if we fight it.
We can't fight. I mean, like right now, you can't push, you know, nobody knows when this situation is going to finish. Yeah. And we have to wait until the next thing had to happen. You go, I know what I'm going to do now.
How do you deal with that? Because you've been like always on the go. You've been like, I mean, one couldn't catch you in a place longer than a second. You would be like,
Yeah.
is it, have you settled down a little more?
Yeah, I have, definitely. I mean, I turned 60, I'm 61 now, so I was 60 last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting time, 60, because you can't really ignore it. There's so much cultural baggage around turning 60 and stopping working.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only in our society, like in India and all kinds of places, 60 is a mark between working
Mm-hmm.
and being an elder.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, retirement, I'm not sure about retirement. I don't want to stop. Retirement has this implication
No, I mean, for the
that you're going to
normal,
stop.
like average Joe who goes to work.
They stop working. Yeah.
I think a creative never retires, because why would you stop doing what you love doing?
But what happens is you go through, before 60, you go through your double Saturn return, which I don't know if you know about that, but every 27 years, Saturn is back where it was when you were born.
Okay.
And Saturn is the questioner, the destroyer, so you question everything. When you're 20, if you go back to when you were 27, 28, probably you had a massive life change.
Yeah.
Well, it happens again in your late 50s. It's a bit less specific. It happens slightly different for different people. But basically, you question everything again. And the conclusion I've come to, and I think a lot of people do, is like, I don't want to do what I was doing. I want to do something else now.
I feel the same way right now.
Yeah.
And 50s, see, it's happening.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, it's happening. So, and now I'm 60, and the joke I'm making is I've retired and I didn't want to retire alone, so I've taken everybody with me. You all got to stop working and go home. but obviously not. But no, it's an interesting time for me, because I am still producing and I am still creating, but actually what I'd like to do is I'd like to teach.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have some.
In relation to music or producing?
Creativity,
mm-hmm.
with a specialist on music and body and mind awareness.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, I've got a little curriculum I'm making, and I'm going to do, when the schools open up and the university open up again, I've done some stuff in schools already, just like little 1 hour sessions where I go down and I show some movies and I talk to the kids about creativity. And I love it. And I just want to
share your experience.
Yeah.
Your knowledge.
And also, my friend Nigel was saying that he's doing really well. He's a musician as well, and he's doing really well now. But he says he wants to get a job in a shop because he wants to have some kind of interface with the real world.
Yeah.
Because us creatives, we're usually at home in front of a screen and a pair of speakers.
Yeah.
And you don't really meet anybody most of the time.
Yeah. In isolation.
So the idea, you're kind of, you're in isolation. I've been in isolation for 40 years, really.
Oh, come on.
I know you say I go here and there, but even though I'm traveling, most of my time I'm in a small room with a pair of speakers and a screen.
But you're not an introvert, really.
No, I'm not an introvert.
But if you want to do the teaching, you could create the program and put it like virtually for now, until
I'm thinking that too. Yeah,
I'm just great.
Yeah, I'm just not in a hurry to do anything right now.
Right.
I think I did when lockdown happened. I started pitching this idea, Mind the Gap, to Channel 4 with a friend, and spent about 3 weeks putting treatments together and phoning people to see who would be in the movie and everything. And then Channel 4 just pulled out. And when they pulled out, I was so relieved, because suddenly my world was empty again. And right now the emptiness is very sexy. It's like, usually there's always plans and this and that. Like, I can't make plans right now.
Yeah. Do you think that you're so comfortable with this, like being in lockdown or being isolated, has to do because you've done so much work? I remember you went to India for a long time in a kind of a real soul search a few years ago, right?
Well, no, last year I did a month of Zen. The Buddhism and the meditating I've been dabbling for a long time, and yoga and diet and all that stuff. Just now in March, suddenly it was like, okay, let's really get serious here. And yeah, my practice now is like, it's, 2 or 3 hours, 2 hours definitely every morning.
Sitting.
And then another hour in the afternoon, sitting, stretching, breathing, yoga, meditation. It's all the things that I've learned through all those years. I'm now committed to it. And my teacher, Martin Aylward, who's a very old friend of mine and very much my teacher. He's
Is
a
that the
Dharma
guy
teacher.
from Wales? No.
No, he lives in France.
Oh, okay.
The guy from Wales.
No, because you
sure
were recommending John and I once this place in Wales.
Yeah, that's Bergs.
He really likes it. He's been doing programs with them again and again.
I love Bergs too. But Martin's my teacher because Martin's my friend. Yeah. It's because I've known him for 30 years and I've watched him, develop. Now I'm sitting, because I did a 2-week silent retreat with him last year after I got back from the Zen. And I did a retreat with him in lockdown where I turned my phone off except the guided meditations and the Dharma that he was teaching. So 3 times a day, there he is. And the rest of the time, no jibber jabber, no, just watching myself. Be good, be bad, be happy, be sad, be angry, be excited. Wow, it's been really amazing opportunity just to have some awareness of Duncan.
And go through the motions of these emotional changes and just be with it.
Yeah. I've actually had this really interesting realization about my automatic behavior, about how reactive I am. Mm-hmm. And you realize that reactive kind of has a negative connotation to it. But actually, the universe is happening and I react. It's kind of what life is in a way. But often we don't watch it because, I always react as Duncan. And often I do things I don't really want to do. Like I might get angry or sad or lots of things that I don't choose at all. But because of the way the universe is, I react. And I've taken that on board to give me a freedom within myself. Like I said a minute ago, when I was trying to mix this album and I hit the wall of I'm not good enough and I hadn't recorded it right and it's I watched it and I accepted it because I've known I've been like that all my life because that energy actually drives me on to make it really good. So I've used that energy like a catapult in the past. Mm-hmm. But for some reason this time I tried to use it as a catapult, but it wasn't working. So then I just, as I said earlier, I just watched it and then I realized okay, well, it's just a reaction that Duncan does, given the circumstances. There goes Duncan.
I find, like you said, being reactive is a very strong or even aggressive word. And I've learned instead of to react, to respond.
Okay, yeah.
I like that, that's like reframing.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Thanks. Yeah.
Right? Because reaction is always when something triggers you and like if somebody pushes your buttons and it's always charged with some emotion or from the past that has nothing to do with that moment.
Well, exactly. Well, okay. In that case, I'm going to stay with react because that is how I feel. Often I am.
But even if I'm reaction and see if you can restrain from reacting, breathe, and then respond instead.
Yeah, but sometimes the reaction is hysterical laughter.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Reaction has this negative connotation. But, sometimes it's hunger makes me cook a really good dinner. It's like the reaction is not necessarily bad. But what's interesting is how free I feel within that. And I'm realizing that I'm not free in any way whatsoever because I can only be Duncan.
But you're not judging it. That's the difference, right?
Or I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. The only difference is the awareness of it. Mm-hmm. And the awareness is the freedom. I still can't stop. I still get angry and I still get sad. I get depressed. I get, all kinds of things.
But you observe yourself being it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that. Yeah. And my friend I was talking to last night, and he was saying he feels like he's a little bit further down that line in that when he's in his anger, he can observe it so clearly that he can pull himself out of the anger and then go back in again. Mm-hmm. which is a skill that I haven't quite got yet. I'm still toddling along on my kiddie bike, because just watching myself, when I get angry, it takes me ages to calm down.
Really?
But I can watch it, you know, and I can watch that angry little kid Duncan doing his "I'm not getting what I want" thing.
But you've always kind of been interested in awareness, consciousness. I mean, you did your first, when you guys did One Giant Leap, what was it, 25 years ago?
No, 20. No, I started in the 80s. I mean, when I was 30, my friend Sandy came home one night and she said, "I've been to see this healer called Penny. You should go and see her." And I didn't, there was nothing wrong with me. And why would I go and see her? I said, "Oh, just go. So I went to see her. She put her hands on my shoulders and I cried for 24 hours. Like almost suddenly. My friend had to come and pick me up. I couldn't drive home. She just woke me up. I was then, and then I was like, okay, well, let's go. And she was into the rebirthing thing, the loving relationships training, very 80s, very, you know, your breathing is your key, is your freedom. By breathing a certain way, it memories return, feelings return, emotions return. And that was when I first realized that when you realize a historical trauma, the trauma doesn't go away, but the awareness of it allows you to work with it. So I'm still working really with the same thing that was like when I was like 30 years ago. and I'm still on my little toddler bike with my wheels on the back. So
have you heard about the holotropic breathing exercises?
I have, yeah, I have.
I found that really interesting because they're using it right now with all this new guided, you know, psychedelic journeys. They use it as an opening to, you know, get you ready for what's to come when you start taking these medicines. And apparently the breathing can bring you in almost the same altered states without even taking any substance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been with the ayahuasca quite often, but much less. I got really evangelical about ayahuasca when I first discovered it, about how it was the savior of the universe, basically. And it allowed me to see things and appreciate the oneness of everything in a way that I'd never even dreamed of. However, I'm quite mad in my head. And psychedelics, all of them, with me, can go either way. I can go to heaven or hell. And the hell I can go to is really painful. And I did it a couple of times with the ayahuasca where I went to hell. But the lesson I got was meditate. I mean, I do TM. And basically, almost every time as soon as I drink ayahuasca, she just tells me my mantra. She gives me my mantra and says, "This is your stairway to heaven," mantra. So that's why I drink much less now, because I think some people it's meant. I'm not sure. It's the right medicine for me. It's very strong. You know, I like marijuana. That opens up my door quite enough. Yeah. And I'm sitting and I'm just being with this, not catapulted out to some other thing and then coming back and going, "What was that? Wow, it was amazing," or "Wow, it was terrible," or whatever it was. So I will return to the plant medicines, to the ayahuasca especially. I really want to, because I really think
too. I have never done it. I'm ready.
Okay, great.
But well, I also think it depends how the effects are and what kind of personality you have and what's living inside of you. And you strike me as a very always, like, you're such an energetic, enthusiastic, like childlike. You have this beautiful energy about yourself, you know, like, and sometimes, you know, that can be amplified maybe by it, or by the stuff that's just swept under the carpet that could then come out when you went to hell, you know, like.
I love that phrase, swept under the carpet. That's really good. Yeah, no, you definitely get in touch with what you swept under the carpet. It's medicine. That's why it's called medicine.
Yeah.
It's there to heal and to reveal. It's not like a joyride. It's
absolutely.
it's work. I mean, with the Santo Daime in Brazil, where it kind of started coming out of the jungle, they call it the work. You're doing the work.
I just saw a documentary series called Unwell on Netflix, and there was an episode about ayahuasca, and apparently in the Amazon in Brazil, originally the indigenous people, if you would go there for a healing, it was the shaman who took the ayahuasca and you didn't, as the receiver. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I'm not, it depends which tradition you follow.
Like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's other ones where in Africa where the shaman would take the medicine and then the people drink his urine. There's all kinds out there in that world. I mean, human beings crave to be returned to the oneness, to understand how the separation can disappear, the separation that we all go through at birth, that we all feel we're born alone, we die alone. What we want to remember is that we're born together and we die together and we live together. There is no separation. So all these medicines, whether it's peyote, ayahuasca, iboga,
San Pedro.
Whatever. San Pedro. Oh, it's San Pedro. You know what it's called, San Pedro?
I remember at Glastonbury, there was the guy with the coat. No, like, what would you like?
Yeah. You know why they called it San Pedro?
No.
Because when the Spaniards came, they said it takes you to heaven. So that's why it's called San Pedro. Okay. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was saying is, what they all do is deal with your ego nonsense so you can actually see your connectedness. And it's the connectedness that I think that's why ayahuasca is, I can't use the word pandemic, obviously, but it's like, it's very contagious, the ayahuasca thing, because, when you first do it, especially, it's such a revelation.
But it gives you a glimpse into that other dimension. But
it's not the glimpse into it. I better plug my phone in, or else I'm going to die. Hang on. Pause. Yeah. Oh my God.
But my question is, how long is the residual effect? Like, is it, yes, you have it on your journey, that vision.
Oh, where's the bloody cable? I can't find my cable. It's not there. Oh, I know where it is.
I like the little altar in the corner.
Yeah, that's my Buddha. My Buddha. And all my little things. Where are we?
Do you think, what was your experience with the aftermath of a journey? Like, you get this blast open to the oneness and, feeling it, and it's super real in the experience, but what happens afterwards? How long does it last? How does it affect your life and how you live it afterwards?
Wow, hang on. That's a lot of ground you just covered. The first thing, how long does it last? In a ceremony?
After the ceremony, when you come out of it, so do you integrate back into your life, and what changed?
Did I? Okay, what changed for me? Okay. I don't know. It's all kind of symbiotic. It's all kind of running together. But I found myself in a family. Like, there is something about, yeah, I'm still here. Oh, that's the festival I was at this weekend, Medicine Festival. Yeah, it lasted. You feel that's one of the big emotions that you get is family. Mm-hmm. We are all family. Mm-hmm. Like Mao, one of the shamans that I drink with, he ends every prayer with, "We are all related."
Yeah.
Which we used with Nessie Gomez, the album that I produced with her. We use that, a lot of his concepts in one of the songs, all related. And what's that really stays with you, even if it's you know, you get downloads, you get realizations, and some they stay, some of they go away, some of them, they might even not be anything other than your mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
But the feeling of oneness that you glimpsed, that you felt was true, that's forever.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that can't go away. Because you said you get a glimpse. You don't, the visuals are not the thing. I mean, obviously the visuals with it can be incredible, but it's the feeling rather than the visuals. Like acid is more about the visuals, and ayahuasca, it's just like, it takes you to God.
It's interesting though, how all the indigenous, even the Native American Indians, you know, they all, to all my relations, like everybody's one.
Exactly.
How did we lose that, you know?
Yeah.
How did we lose it? What was it, a construct for some people to gain more power over others? Or, you know, that's always my question.
I mean, there's separate ways you can look at it. I mean, there maybe was a golden time when we did understand and then we forgot.
Yeah.
But there is also the possibility that we are just waking up, as, you know, like there's always been the minority of people living outside of the greedy, money-driven, because we've always been, you know, like in the history we know, I don't know, Sapiens was, I don't know, you probably
so
read
good,
Sapiens.
right? Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I mean, but, you know, basically also just demonstrates very perfectly what a horrible bunch of people humans are. For 70,000 years, we've killed and eaten everything, including each other.
Yeah.
So maybe we're waking up now, and maybe we're realizing, because there's a lot of us, it got to such an extreme that, you know we can't continue like that.
But going back to these values of having tribe, like you said, you know, we're all family, sitting around the fire and dancing and singing, you know, the rhythm of nature, like following the rhythms of nature, and brings everything more into homeostasis, you know, into balance.
Yeah.
And then came the agricultural age and the industrial age and the greed and the whatever.
And now we're all being digitized. Now all the communications we're having are on this little box.
Yeah.
Which I got to say, I love. I'm really good with the screen. I have no problem with the screen. You're in the room right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just be sitting there. I don't have, you know, I don't have any problem with it. And the fact, like I said earlier, like the fact that suddenly nobody's in a hurry.
Yeah.
Wow, what a gift that is.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, it's scary, and you know, but also expand into that time. Time has kind of shifted. It's become a little bit. The Buddha says the time is just a series of mind moments.
Yeah.
And a mind moment is as long as it takes from doing this to the sound happening.
Yeah.
And we make it into a linear story, but it's not, you know. And so as the universe shifts around us, time is not necessarily a fixed thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've been given the gift to expand. You know, I sit there sometimes, you know, for an hour, and it doesn't feel like 10 minutes.
Same, yeah.
And sometimes I sit there and it feels like I'm looking at the bloody clock all the time and go, oh God, I've only sat for 10 minutes.
Of the mind, it's a concept.
Yeah.
The linear time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, maybe there's some people moving backwards through it. Who knows?
Yeah.
We don't see them because they just fly past.
When you're at home, do you lose yourself in like playing the guitar or practicing music right now while you're stuck at home?
It's funny. Usually I do. Right now I've been doing it less than normal. Mm-hmm. Weirdly. I mean, I've got a nice little, I'll show you. Oh, I can't, because I'll show you in a minute, but I've got a nice studio set up here. Mm-hmm. I've got everything I need here to be musically creative. But to be honest, I'm just more interested in just going in and mm-hmm. being with me and reading and listening. And
what are you reading right now?
I'm reading Value book, this book by this woman, Deepak, Value Compass, which is, what's valuable, where is values going now, and that if you choose what you value, how that can propel you to it, and a few other things. I'm listening a lot to podcasts and just it's great at the moment. I'm trying to consume a bit of wisdom because I haven't been paying much attention for a long time. Too busy running around. Yeah, too busy running around, not listening, really listening.
What music are you listening to? Anything new?
Yeah, lots. I just can't think. My mind's gone blank. I'm not very good when people ask me that. Let me think. Let me think. Hang on. I'm going to tell you. I'll just go to my
to your library.
Yeah. It will remind me.
Because I'm always interested. You know, if somebody has like a good taste in music, what do you listen to? What can
so
you
much
recommend me to? Because you know, sometimes I have a harder time finding good new stuff.
Well, actually, I'm listening to a lot of John Hassel at the moment, and I found this ECM music. ECM is a jazz label in Scandinavia, and there's this. They got into this kind of musically skillful ambient music. So it's not like ambient music it's just synthesizers and electronic, but it's kind of acoustic ambient music. Beautiful,
like kind of
lots
Brian
of
Eno-ish.
Yeah, but he much less electronic than even him, you know. But obviously, and I can't go to my playlist now. I can't think who I'm listening to, but that's what happens when you're 60. You can't quite remember what you're doing.
It even happens before. But
I know.
I also wanted to ask you, you know, like the listener here. I mean, you've done the One Giant Leap movie. You did the What About Me, the follow-up. It was like you and Jamie were the first to kind of conceive that concept of that format, which didn't exist before, kind of. But you were a musician before, so you kind of became a filmmaker by default, right?
By accident, yeah.
Yeah. How long? So how old were you? How long were? Well, we can do the math. But how long have you been a musician? Did you start playing instruments as a kid?
Yep. Started banging on the piano when I was about 6.
Uh-huh.
And then it turned into chords, and then I got the David Bowie songbook, and it turned into songs and Beatles complete and all those things. And then I was in a band at school. I learned the flute a bit, played the drums a bit, but then I ended up being a keyboard player somehow. That seemed to stick. Then I was in a punk rock band called the Scrambled Egos.
In where?
Which became
in England, in London?
Yeah, in London in 1978 or something. And then we became Shake Shake when it was post-punk, and it was kind of like Public Image, but yeah, that kind of thing, tribally stuff.
I was in Public Image big time.
Love it. Actually, it wasn't really like Public Image. I didn't even when I said it. It was just the drumming was a bit like it, and the jar wobble. It was a bit that way, but it wasn't. There was no Johnny Rotten in our group, that's for sure. And then I was in a soul band called Eye Level, which was like a jazz funk band.
How old were you then?
21, 22. And the first record we made, my friend was a tape op in the studio. And I'd never been told that music was an option for a career. And then my mate got this job as a tape op, and I started meeting all these musicians when I used to go hang out with them. We'd stay up all night when he'd finish his session and record things. And he was recording a reggae band called Brimstone, or they were recording in the studio. And Sam, the singer, stayed that one night when me and Joe were messing around, and we recorded a song called Give Me. And then he took it to Virgin. We got a deal, and it was a bit of a hit. It was like #1 in the dance charts, and it was a big hit in New York. And so suddenly, by a complete fluke, we were kind of remixing, when that was just starting. Mm-hmm. The computer had just crept into the studio. There was the Lindrum and the Oberheim, but it was still on tape. There was still no actual computer running everything.
Right.
And then that led into, we were remixing Duran Duran and Paul McCartney and all kinds of other things, being in the 80s, BMW, white flat top haircut, cocaine, funny old time. And then that finished, and then another thing, and then blah, blah, blah. And then I did this band, Transvision Vamp, which was like a #1 album here. which is kind of a rock. You know, Transvision Vamp. You ever heard of them? They wouldn't really happen in America. They were massive in Australia and
Well, I was
pretty
still
big
in
here.
Germany back then. What year was that?
89, 90.
Yeah.
I think it might have happened in Germany. Transvision Vamp. Anyway, it was kind of Blondie meets the Ramones meets Zig Zig Sputnik.
And you played in the band or you produced them?
I produced it and played a lot of the stuff. You know, as I do, that's often the case. I'm a kind of, you know, I fill in the gaps, whatever's needed.
You've become a multi-instrumentalist at that point.
Yeah. I do. I mean, I'm not brilliant on anything, but I can find good parts that fit together nicely and make a good sound. That's what I do, really. Yeah. And that was all training, really, for One Giant Leap. And then in that time, because I'd been in eye level, I was working with Aswad and Maxi Priest. I went to Jamaica, worked with Sly and Robbie. Had a really, in the 80s was good to me. It was really good.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. And then the 90s hit and I produced Take That's first album, Take That and Party.
How did you get that gig?
I had a manager. Actually, no, how did I get it? I saw them on kids' TV. And I just thought, and I'd had this pop hit with Transvision Vamp and I just wanted another pop thing. And they were on and they said, you know, that they would, I actually said, I think on the show that they were looking for a producer or something. Anyway, something made me think, oh, let me just call them. So I got my manager to call BMG and I went and saw them in Burnley do an afternoon matinee disco to school kids. And they all came out and just ripped their clothes off and span on their head and all these teenage girls going crazy. And I went, okay, this looks good. I'll get involved with this. So I started their album and they released a single, which didn't do very well. And I was sacked.
Was that when it just broke? So was it the break?
No, first it flopped. The first single that I did, it more or less flopped. They got dropped. And I thought that was the end of it. They carried on. Suddenly they had a hit and all my tracks ended up on the album and saved my life. Paid my tax bill, to be honest.
Great.
And in the meantime, I was growing my hair long. It was early 90s. It was all ecstasy and world music and dubby techno. So I was in a band called Tribal Drift, which was like a didgeridoo-led world music, dubby techno thing. And we went on tour with Dread Zone and that lot. And I suddenly went to Glastonbury, saw all the festivals, and saw this whole world that I had no idea about at all. Fell in love with the backing singer in the band, and the 90s was, luckily, Take That album was doing really well, and that was paying my bills, and I was off in fields playing techno. And that led, and then I did work with Nitin Sawhney on his album Migration, and I worked with Save the Rhino, and all these things were leading up to One Giant Leap, really. And then one night I met Jamie, who was in Faithless at that time.
Right.
And we smoked some herbal cigarettes and got excited about life and music realized that we liked the same thing. And wouldn't it be great if we did this? And it wasn't a film at all. It was just the basic idea was that how can you take as many disparate things as possible and make them realize that we are all one? It was that unity thing. It was like,
see, there it started already back then.
About 95. That's when we started that.
Pre-ayahuasca. You had that.
Yeah, pre-ayahuasca. Yeah, it was pre-ayahuasca. Yeah, ayahuasca just bumped it up a bit. And then, yeah, One Giant Leap, Grammys. What About Me? 19 Entertainment. HECHO en Mexico. 2 years in Mexico, making a film there. Kumbamela, making a film with a whole team of lovely people there. Gabon, made a film about the Iboga.
Oh, really?
And
I haven't seen that.
Now, yeah, it's. Have you seen the Kumbamela one? The Kumbamela film?
Yeah, I've seen that on a plane, believe it or not.
I saw it on a plane. Made me very, very happy.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, the Iboga film. Yeah, that's another whole story. I shot it, but I haven't managed to finish it.
The Gabon.
Yeah, the religion
about?
It's about Iboga and Bwiti. It's about Bwiti. Bwiti is the religion in Gabon.
Is that the
It
pygmies?
was, yeah, tis the pygmies.
Because
And
I
the others
remember
as well,
them
not
in
just
your
the pygmies.
film, in the, what was it, What
Yeah,
About Me? And they were really pissed.
yeah, yeah. Well, I went back again,
Uh-huh.
and I got entry into really deep Gabon, deep Bwiti. And I just think that Bwiti didn't want me to finish the film, is the only conclusion I've come to, because I tried and I reframed it and tried this and tried that, and it kept just not working. And then in the end, I just had to surrender. I went, okay, this isn't, I mean, maybe it's, I've still got all the footage and I know I've got some really special stuff, but it's just not right. And it's really interesting how it was a good lesson for me. You know, you
So you
can't
surrender to that.
exactly.
But when you did HECHO in Mexico, they basically commissioned you, right, to do the One Giant Leap concept in a for the Mexican culture, right?
Exactly. That was a miracle as well. Wow.
If you would do another movie, or do you have an idea, or do you aspire to do another film as a director? And do you have an idea
Yes,
for one?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I do
Talk about
aspire.
it,
I
or
do have a thing. I've got basically, yeah, I'd like to do a local one. I'd like to do one in Bristol, just in Bristol. Because I think local is where we have to point ourselves now. I think we all have to stop zooming around. Wherever we are, just stay where you are. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to go on holiday or go to just be where you are with your neighbors, with your family, with your loved one, with your friends, and strengthen the community, eat local food, enjoy local culture. You know what I'm saying? It's like we've all been so obsessed with, oh, I can go anywhere and do anything. Well, no, I'm not sure that's a great idea.
Well, I think for you, with your whole path of and evolving, and also you've been all over the world, you know, so some younger people, they probably are craving to get that experience that you already have under your belt.
Fair
In a
enough.
way.
I know. Fair
Of
enough. I
course.
know.
But I agree with
But
you.
even still beyond that, and I know they might want that, but I'm just saying, for where we are as a planet, aeroplanes flying around, carrying people around so they can go and look at things.
Yeah.
You know, stay at home and study. And also, you know, like I'm saying, like at the moment, Andrea is in the room with me and we're chatting. I don't have this problem with it. And it's the same when I see David Attenborough things. I don't necessarily need to go and look at the whale.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
No, I
that
totally get it. Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's something we have to calm down, all of us. It's all we've all got a bit, multinational nonsense.
Yeah. And it's gotten even worse because of the information travels so fast with the internet, you know, the secret places get revealed and people go there and everything is over flooded in the world because it's more affordable for everybody, and it's just gotten out of hand. So it's almost like the universe put a brake on it, you know, in a way.
Yeah, good. I mean, yeah, I think it's not a bad. There's one place I went to. I mean, often because I'm shooting like I was at a festival called Aniwa that was in Ibiza a couple of years ago, and it was a bit like the medicine festival in that it was like the wisdom keepers keep getting the indigenous elders from all around the world to come and talk to us about their wisdom, and it was a beautiful festival, but none of them would, and my job was to make a film, but a lot of the things that they did, no, this is sacred, you can't film it. Which is obviously, as a filmmaker, it drives you around a twist, but also, yeah, fair enough. You know, it does get diluted. There's a place in Mexico I went to called Chamula, and Chamula was one of the first Catholic cathedrals that they put when they arrived in Mexico. But now it's in Chiapas, and it's been taken over back now by the indigenous Mexicans there. And they've taken all the saints off the wall, and they've taken out all the pews, and there's this beautiful music that they play there. Very distinct. I don't know if it's only there, but I think it's only there. And you're not allowed to take cameras inside the church. And really, you go online, there are no pictures of the inside of that church. And I think that's brilliant. And I was told, look, if you get your camera out, they will smash it.
Yeah.
Good. All right. I won't get my camera out. But yeah, it's an interesting predicament we're in, this recording on the phone. And I mean, when we did the One Giant Leap thing, we kind of made a film in isolation then, because none of the people in the film met each other.
Yeah.
None of the musicians were played together. They were all just, I composed a piece of music, then a singer would sing on it, and then a drummer somewhere. Exactly. And
my mind is still blown how you managed to layer these elements together and make it so make a symbiosis of all of that. I mean, but also it's kind of the musicians having a conversation with the other musician, right? And kind of,
yeah,
but it's your gift. You have God's gift, like, of doing that, because it's not an easy task for.
No, and it basically came from my work as a pop producer.
Yeah.
I took the sensibility that I got, because I think a lot of the skill in One Giant Leap also is just getting the attention span right. So it moves at the right speed. And so therefore then the transitions happen. Sometimes suddenly out of the blue, you go, wow, how did we get here? And other times you suddenly realize, wow, we were in Africa and now we're in San Francisco. And how did that happen? So, yeah, thank you. I'm very proud of.
No, I mean, absolutely one of favorite pieces. I never knew though, and I always wanted to ask you that, and here I am asking you.
Go on, then.
The songs, you know, the songs with lyrics, the artists you chose, like Katie Lang or Michael Franti or Michael Stipe, did they write the lyrics?
Everybody, they're horses for courses. Like Katie Lang, no, she didn't write any lyrics. But
Wounded song, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, Jamie wrote 90% of them. My friend Nigel wrote the "I Feel It All" chorus, and I think that KD may have, because we were writing them on the hoof when we were with her. Jamie had quite a lot of them before we got there, but it was getting them exactly right for her was a beautiful thing. It was just one afternoon. It was amazing. Michael Stipe. A lot of the artists, like Maxi, when he did My Culture, it was like we would talk to the artist about what we're thinking about this track or about this concept.
In terms of content.
Yeah, and then they would write their lyrics, and maybe then we'd bounce some around. Like with The Way You Dream, we bounced some lyrics around already. Me and Jamie, when we were in South Africa, we'd done some, and we were doing these autobiographical lyrics. Which when we went to Michael, we were going, okay, we're doing these and we weren't expecting him to take it over completely, but he slowly he did, and his way in was listening to the Usher Bosley vocal and getting inspired with the word dream. First, the only thing he did was the word dream. Dream, dream, dream was at the beginning. And he was kind of happy with that. And then I had to kind of push him a bit and go, well, come on, we can get more than that. And I'm good at that. I'm a bit of a bully. I can be a bit of a bully, even to Michael Stipe.
Yeah. You just had the link to the behind the scenes, and there was a little element of that in it when you showed up in Athens, Georgia. And he's like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, exactly. Once we'd done the first One Giant Leap, the second one was easier because we had the first one to refer to.
Yeah.
But like the second one with Michael, we were working with the concept of the thing that really unifies us as humans is the fact that we're all crazy. Right. And to deal and how your shadow side and how your dark side can be your rocket fuel. Yeah. So that's how it became the pain, the I Have Seen Trouble. Couldn't remember the title for a minute. So the I Have Seen Trouble, that was really weird because he wrote all the lyrics and did the guide vocal, but wouldn't let me wear headphones and kind of went off in the corner and did it and just told me to go and record. And I said, to record again. He said, like, I've got it. So he wrote the whole thing without us listening.
Wow.
And then we listened and it was beautiful. So that was a beautiful moment. Alanis Morissette, we had like 3 hours and it was a bit like a reality TV show where we had 3 hours with Alanis Morissette to write a song. And we did it. You know, that happened quite a lot where we'd have a fixed amount of time with somebody
Yeah.
Like Carlos Santana, I managed to blag him down. He was playing at Wembley Arena, and I'm friends with the drummer. And so he got me backstage, and Carlos is a fan of the first One Giant Leap. So first we were filming, and he gave us a big commercial, like how wonderful One Giant Leap is, blowing smoke right up our ass. It was beautiful. And then he wasn't going to do any guitaring, and I played him the track that we'd recorded in Mexico with Leela Downs. And he said, I'll put a solo on that. Yes.
That must be
so
good.
The following night we went, beautiful. Then the following night I went back, and he was, for the second night he was playing at Wembley. And so backstage, we just sat backstage, and he did his solo, one take, blinding. So yeah, I mean, everything, the job really is using my enthusiasm and my skill as a sound recordist and arranger, just to inspire people to do things. I mean, like a lot of the time, like Bubba Marl, you don't know, he doesn't know what he's going to sing when he opens his mouth. He just doesn't know. And he's really good at just getting out of the way, and it comes through in such a, what he did with us was amazing. Like, so in that case, all I did was produce give him the music to listen to, and let him free, make sure I'm in record and the levels are okay, and if we're filming, okay, good, because that's the beauty of One Giant Leap and the curse. The beauty is that it is a proper documentary. It's all live. We don't script it. We don't work it out. There's no lip sync. So if somebody sings something and I'm not in record, that's it. I missed it.
Yeah.
So I got really good at making sure that I get it. Presence.
But it's not really a documentary in that classical sense, because the format is so unique. It's like there's not a narrative, like the narrative is more poetic, I would say.
I agree, but the only thing that, I agree. I'm not sure that One Giant Leap is really a documentary, because also documentary, in the word, you kind of presume that we're trying to prove something or make a point.
Yeah.
And there is no point to One Giant Leap. We're not saying, there are no answers. There's just reflections and multi-layered musical reflections on ideas. Yeah. So we're not trying to prove anything. There's no doctrine or anything. So, whether it's a musical, sometimes I call it a musical documentary, but I think the difference is it's definitely a film. You do it to a script, to the moment. You do each thing hundreds of times. It's a whole different process to what we're doing.
When you chose all these like people that were speaking, philosophically, that you interviewed, like Kurt Vonnegut or Eckhart Tolle, did you compile that list before? And
but the list was basically very, 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 very big.
Were there a few people like that you wanted to absolutely have that said no?
Lots.
Yeah, like who?
That's okay. Missy Elliott springs to mind when we were doing the second one. I can't think now. The one, they just fall away. David Bowie was really close. I got a gentle pass from David Bowie. He was round the corner to me. I was in New York and I knew where he was, and I talked to his manager, and I had this track that I'd done in Japan that I was absolutely sure that he was going to go for. And he gave me a gentle pass. But that's all right. I got a gentle pass from David Bowie. Probably that's a career highlight, I say. But also the other thing is, however big the list is, a lot of the people just happened. Just one thing leads to another. It's like a bit like a treasure hunt. You find something, and then that tells you where you got to go next to find the next bit of treasure. It's and things like that thing with Carlos Santana, where suddenly I'm in London, I'm in post, the film was nearly finished, and suddenly my friend says, "Do you want to come and meet Carlos?" Not half.
Right there.
Yeah.
So what would that new film look like, that if you would do a local, would that be along the lines of that kind of concept?
Yeah.
Would it?
Yeah, what I like, the Mexico film really made it clear to me how strong this format is. That actually, because the content is self-determining, it's the format that is strong. Yeah. And the format is very simple. It's philosophical sound bites cut into music where the lyrics and the narrative join up, and it's seamless. It's musical. It's like
And
I can just
different
do it.
cultures, like.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be different cultures. I mean, yeah, that has
In
been the
Mexico,
model.
it was
But
different genres of music. You would work with indigenous people, and then with some.
yeah. Right across the board.
Yeah.
And it was good because the Huicholes, I made the Huicholes the star in a way, which was great because they're in real trouble. There's not many of them left. Alcohol's a big problem.
With
Their
the
land is being
Huicholes?
taken by mining.
Look, I have a Huicholes peyote necklace.
Yeah, there you go. Great. Yeah, I mean, that's the support we can give. That is the support. One of my proudest moments was my friend called from Argentina, and they'd just been to a peyote ceremony with the Huicholes that were down there. And the Huicholes had all their stuff out, the bracelets and the da-da-da-da-da. And at the end of the table was a bootleg of my film, HECHO en Mexico, which made me, they were selling it as part of their stuff.
Wow.
That made me really, really happy. Wow.
That's amazing.
That's a blessing. Yeah, that's really.
Yeah, that was a cool film.
Yeah.
And there's
Cool
such
moment.
a rich culture in Mexico. I love Mexico so much. Love it. Yeah. It's the next place. My first travel will probably be there because it's
Okay.
go from LA.
I'm not going
if
anywhere.
you do Bristol, it's
There we go.
If you do Bristol, it's a much kind of smaller circle. Is there a
Yeah.
Is there diversity in music?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure I could do Bristol. I can do I can do Britain.
Britain.
Yeah, and I have this concept called Mind the Gap, which I was pitching when I came back from Mexico in 2012. I was fresh on the idea that the world had ended and that we were in the gap between the old world crumbling and the new world developing, and we should expand into the gap. Don't try and jump too quick. And I wanted to celebrate the idea that things were changing. And I pitched it quite a lot, Mind the Gap, and just couldn't. I was told I was a bit too much of a hippie and, blah, blah, blah. But then COVID hit and it really felt like, okay, come on now, Mind the Gap, come on.
Yeah.
So I pitched it to Channel 4 with my friend and it developed nicely, but it just didn't. Now is not the right time, I don't think. I don't want to just do a virtual I want to be able to travel around Britain and go.
Yeah, it would lose a lot of that, local feeling when you
and it become a bit of a gimmick.
Yeah.
So, and right now, I think it's better for me just to be quiet and be at home. That's what we're doing right now. We're at home and we're being quiet.
Awesome.
And that's okay for me. My cooking's got much better too.
Oh my God. I've been baking. I'm making sourdough bread from scratch and, like the cooking is to me my art right now. It's like also my meditation, just to kind of cutting the vegetables, like appreciating the people who grew them and just having these different steps along the way instead of just picking up that pre-made salad or, It's such a different energy also that you take in and make it to this body.
Well, also, have you been in isolation alone? Are you alone there?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so
I have a dog.
Okay. But probably for the first time, and what happened to me was because I'm not eating out, and I'm not eating with anybody, is that I go to the shop and I just buy what I want for a week. And I've never really known that so precisely about, and you see exactly what I overbought, what I underbought, and my knowledge of my system. Wow, I'm really grateful for that. Really grateful.
Same.
And I'm on keto. I'm on this diet called keto. Do you know what that is? Yes, I'm on keto diet, which is no carbs, no sugar, no alcohol. I haven't drunk since Christmas. So I'm feeling really, really good and alive.
Good. No, I can't.
Nice.
I can't say no sugar and no carbs here. With the baking, I'm actually once I'm done with you, I'm baking a birthday cake for a friend tonight.
Oh, nice.
We do see some friends in social distancing outside. I have my little COVID pot of a few people that I see.
Good.
Yeah.
Your bubble.
Yeah, but other than that, I've been reading up a storm and practicing and all of that. Yeah, same here.
Amazing time. How we're so lucky to be witnessing this. The disintegration of an old system over there in America, it's a bit more difficult than here, I think, because you've really got a madman in charge, and it's just the way your society is set up.
Yeah.
There is no compassion, it seems, for the people at the bottom of the tree.
It has been astonishing with the Black Lives Matter movement, how people got mobilized and went on the streets. It was really empowering, like, for people. However, the administration right now, the lies and the propaganda, how they manage really to have still this strong following of citizens that stand behind them is, to me, unfathomable. I cannot grab it, how somebody in their right mind, it's, living here, the way I live my life, I feel it doesn't affect me because somehow I'm a hippie too. I live in my bubble. I have my circle of like-minded people. But if it kind of hits you from the outside so strongly, and you feel like this is borderline fascism, and where are we heading with this? It fucking scares you,
It's not borderline fascism. It's fascism. And the propaganda. I mean, me and a lot of my circle here, we don't watch the news.
I don't watch the news. I'm very, very, very sparse on my news too, but it's kind of so in your face, or you talk to your friends and you learn about things that I don't need to know about everything. So yeah, for me, it's like you said, in that 27-year cycle of what is it? Saturn return. I'm contemplating where's my what do my next 10 years look like? Where do I want to be? And I'm really gravitating again back towards Europe. Because I don't want to live in this country if it's going the way it's going. I can't.
I think that I don't know how long it'll take, but there's good news coming, I'm sure. It's reached a point where even if he wins and does another 4 years, it will get to a point where sense has to come. And I'm sure it's coming this November. I'm sure it's got to. He's got to be gone. I'm not sure there's the best candidate against him, but whoever it is, it can't. He's gone so mad. But I've seen the propaganda, and the propaganda is so. Wow, how could they say the things they say?
No, blatant lies. But hey, your words in God's ears, It's just, hopefully, that's why I'm going to go to Europe next week. Just to see my mom and my family, because people are getting old, and who knows if we can travel on Christmas or whatever. So I'm doing it now, and I'll be back to vote. Boom.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that
and
was nice.
That feels like stay in our little bubbles, and hopefully we can connect again sometime, and you keep me posted on what you're up to and what you're doing with your new project.
I really hope so.
Please send me some of your music list. I would love to know what's good out there, because I absolutely, honor your taste in music and everything.
Thanks, Andrea.
I appreciate you as a wonderful person, and it's great to reconnect.
Yeah, likewise. We've had some lovely times together.
Yeah. So be well. Thank you for your time.
See you at Glastonbury. That's right. Come to Glastonbury next year when it's back on.
100%.
Come back to Glastonbury.
I'll be there.
We'll stagger around Glastonbury.
with the little wristband switch and everything.
Here we go. Exactly.
Okay, in that spirit, let's do that. Thank you, Duncan.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a lovely, lovely day.
You too. Lovely night.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.